So we have a 5-micron particle filter that goes in the pre-filter stage with a filter wrench. And then we've also got the coupler fittings for the actual carbon filter. These are 3/4 inch male fittings. You have the regen outflow to 1/2 inch clear tubing fitting. This is also a 3/4 inch fitting if you'd like to use something else. And then the power outlet. The next component we have here is the particle filter, which is placed before the carbon filter system. This here has two 1-inch female threaded fittings on the inlet and outlet. This is the main carbon filter unit. It has a electronic monitoring system and comes with a manual bypass valve and is connected with 2 coupler fittings that output to 3/4 inch male threads. I'm going to use PEX for this install, so some of the things you'll need are the PEX crimping tool, pipe cutter, various fittings. We're going to install a bypass valve system and also a check valve at the exit of the carbon filter. You're also going to need a power source, so if you don't already have one, you'll need a weatherproof box, an outlet box, and a GFI. I chose a GFI that actually also has an alarm on it so that I know when the power's gone out to the unit. In addition to the standard PEX brass fittings, I also have some of the SharkBite Pro Lock 3/4 inch push to connect type fittings. I'm just going to kind of do a little demo of how these work before we start the install. So here we have the fitting, and essentially they've got these little twist lock collars on them that when you twist, they'll click, lock into place, and hold on to the pipe. And then it's real nice that if you need to make an adjustment or do some sort of reconfiguration, all you have to do is twist the lock back and then press and hold on the release sleeve and simply just pull the fitting right off the pipe. So through the magic of video editing and the fact that it took me over 4 hours to actually get everything installed and was completely pitch black by the time I was finished, here's the finished product the next day. So what we've got here is a main shutoff valve from the pipe coming from the street. Goes into one of those Pro Lock T fittings. And to the left would be our bypass valve. And so if we were to open that one off and shut off the valve to the right and left, we would totally bypass the water filtration system we got going on here. So as you can see, I succumbed to the late nights with the extra use of some pipe fittings there that weren't needed. But anyways, so The house originally had this Eco Pure or whatever filter on it that's got a built-in bypass system in it. Um, Really neat. It did work great at removing the chlorine smell from the house and some of the larger particles that seem to be contaminating our city water supply. So that did great, but obviously we wanted to go something better, and so then we come into the Pentair um, 5 micron particle filter. Um, Basically, the filter just sits in the blue bucket. Um, then from the particle filter, we go into the main carbon unit. It has its own built-in manual bypass valves and also has an internal electronic motor with a bypass system in it that's controlled by the monitoring system. Um, Little pro tip I got from a plumber years ago um, was if you never want your fittings to leak and you're always worried about possibly over tightening to try and get them to stop leaking, uh, not only use some Teflon tape, but also use some Teflon paste or some type of um, plumber's sealant on your threads, and you'll never have to pretty much worry about it. On top of the unit is the outlet for the regen cycle, and this pretty much just pumps water out into a drain. Um, Something to do with needing to clean out the carbon within the main tube. So I thought I'd mention that the system has a specific startup mode um, so that you don't either damage or push all the carbon through your house system or cause yourself to have a ton of aeration go through the lines, kind of like I did. Um, they put the startup mode on um, the pages after how to operate um, the system, which I think it should have been after the install section, but that's just me. Um, so basically, you'll want to leave the 2 bypass valves on the back of the carbon unit um, in bypass mode. Turn your water under your house, um, and then go run a bathtub or two. So that way, when you turn the system on, air has some way to escape if it doesn't all escape through the regen tube. But once you got the tub water running, you'll hit the scroll button 2 times, which you'll see in a little bit when I do the demo of the control unit. We'll start the regen cycle. When it hits 0, it'll start the backwash. And then once you hear the motor start to turn, you can slowly open the inlet valve partially. And then you'll have a bunch of water start coming out of the regen outlet pipe. And once you notice this at a steady flow, then you can hit the scroll button again on the unit so it goes to the next stage. Now you can fully open the inlet valve, and the water cycle or last cycle will run for three minutes. And then once that regen cycle is complete, go ahead and open the outlet valve finally all the way. Should then let your water run for 5 to 10 minutes so it can kind of flush out everything. And then you can test your chlorine levels if you would like. They also recommend you drain the hot water tank. I didn't do this. We take long showers and whatnot anyway, so I figured it'd be out in a couple days, and it was. So just wanted to, kind of go through the system startup because I missed it when I went through the instruction manual, and ended up having to purge more water through my whole house system for a little while and do the regen twice to get all the air out of everything. So save you the headache. Now I'd like to go ahead and do a quick brief overview of the operations of the control panel. So control panel is real simple. It's got 3 buttons, scroll, up, and down. So if you press scroll once, you can set the time. Press it again, you can manually start the regen cycle. Press it a 3rd time, it'll tell you when it's going to do the regen cycle, and then a 4th time brings you back to the main menu. Now, if you push and hold the down arrow, you'll go into system check mode, and if you push the sequence down, down, scroll down, you'll actually enter the options menu where you can change the amount of gallons until the next regen, the phone number, time, and then go into the next advanced menu. There's the reserve change setting, when to regen, override, backwash, length of time, the brine and rinse setting if you have a water softener, and the fill and rinse, which will always be 3 minutes. Pretty much regen is just going to throw a whole bunch of water through the whole system. There is a bypass valve inside the actual unit itself. This is different than the 2 valves you can turn at the end. And pretty much what it'll do, a little electric motor turns a shutter and starts sending water out the top of the unit. I'd have to read up a little more on what this does, but it's something to do with needing to rejuvenate the carbon within the system. So it pretty much all just flows out that little pipe. Let's see. Just kind of a couple things. When I first got the unit, obviously I had to set the time, and there was no phone number programmed in, so I went ahead and programmed in the phone number from Pentair right in, that was on the manual, into the system. I did notice that 10 minutes of pushing water out can seem like a lot. So the original default regen gallon setting is 1200 gallons between regen cycles. And as you probably saw earlier, I had upped it. Obviously, I did not leave it at 50,000 gallons because that is a lot between regen cycles, but I think I upped my regen to about 10% higher than what the default was. And this was kind of just an attempt to kind of try and save us some water. But obviously, if you're doing the manual regen, you can press scroll again, and it'll stop cycle 1 and move to cycle 2. If your cycle 2 is off, then it'll automatically go to cycle 3, which will always be 3 minutes. The reserve option has something to do with how much water stays in the unit. I believe, if I read correctly, when it does the regen cycle. And pretty much if you leave it on variable, the unit will monitor your daily usage versus time and figure out how much it should keep in the tank. Otherwise, you can set it to some preset values that are already in there. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Any any concerns you might have with the way I've set things up, I'd always appreciate the feedback, good or bad. So hope this helped.